are at the assisted living construction site. You'll notice on the left there's a wing that juts out, and on the right there's another shorter wing. Both of these wings will be expanded toward the camera and then connected to create a brand new courtyard. Presently, the construction that's underway is to excavate and to add new or to tie in with old sanitary sewer, storm sewer, or fire sprinkler system water. Here we're viewing the excavation for the sanitary sewer from the assisted living. In the deep excavation just off to our right is the original sanitary sewer pipe, which will be tied in with the new sanitary sewer pipe. We're also upgrading the pipe from a Schedule 35 to a Schedule 40 to meet current code. A parallel excavation to the first one we saw will contain the stormwater runoff pipes from the gutter system at the roof line to the surface drains in the courtyard. Right now we're situated on top of where one or two of the assisted living units will be constructed, and we're looking into the court area that'll be formed when what we're standing on is converted into the 9 new assisted living units. A new feature with this Shaymar production is the fact that we're using an eye from the sky drone, compliments of the Ulrich Construction Company. Just a week after the drone view that we just observed, here's how the site looked as it was ready for the concrete pour. A couple of days later, Building 1 atrium folks had a real early wake-up. The concrete arrived at the site. It was placed in a couple of hours, and the same day the new slab was finished. Once the floor had completed and cured a bit, then the tracks were laid for the load-bearing stud walls. The studs were placed and capped, and on top of each of the load-bearing stud walls was placed the structural steel member that would accept the load from the trusses. Once the trusses were placed and braced firmly in place, then the roof sheathing was applied. And at this point, here's how it looked from our drone shot, the eye in the sky. When the roof sheathing was completed, the insulation was added, and the insulation was covered with a vapor barrier in preparation for the application of the architectural shingles. Once all the exterior partitions were placed, then the exterior sheathing was applied. The brickwork was brought up from the foundation to the bottoms of the windows. The windows were placed and flashed, and then we were ready to place the soffit and the fascia board, and then apply the hardy board siding. It was on January 13th that we saw the courtyard and then had our first look at the interior of the facility. The assisted living courtyard is in the final day or two of preparation before we finish the concrete pours. You'll notice that the forms are in place for the rest of the concrete walkways. and also the trenches between the areas of walkway where they'll place the decorative brick. Way over in that far corner there will be a small heating, ventilating, air conditioning system pad for the electrical mechanical room and the member storage room that's over toward that corner. On the northwest side of the courtyard is this little room which is being built, and it is primarily a housing for the fire sprinkler system Christmas tree, which provides fire protection for the assisted living building. The assisted living addition was designed so that there would be a very minimum of penetrations through the roof. This particular penetration serves the bathroom exhaust fans from all 9 new rooms. And this means that hopefully the exhaust fan ductwork will be a little quieter, because rather than ducting directly to the outside and listening to the flapper flap during a storm, the air will be brought all the way to this single exhaust area and exhausted when your fan is on. The west corner of the new addition, the assisted living, has a sun porch right on the corner. And here we're looking in through the sun porch door, through the sunroom, and up the west hallway that connects with the existing assisted living facility. We're about 3.5 months into the construction contract for assisted living, and here you'll notice that as we look down the north hallway, the interior framing is just about completed. On the ceiling, you'll see the workmen coating, sealing up the HVAC ductwork, and just behind his shoulders is the ductwork for the bathroom exhausts. That ductwork will be hidden behind the drop ceiling eventually. Also on the ceiling, just to the left of the bathroom exhaust ductwork, you'll notice the red conduit which houses the fire alarm system. You'll notice the interior partitions meet the sheetrock ceiling, so to speak. This ceiling will actually be above a small drop ceiling, and then this sheetrock ceiling up there acts as what we call a fire cap. In other words, it's continuous throughout the building to contain any fire below that level. You'll notice straight ahead the diagonal interior partition where it meets the wall makes up with the fire cap, and just a little bit to the right of the angle between the diagonal partition and the hallway, you'll notice the red iron at the top of the load-bearing partition. The fire cap had to be mated up against the red iron and sealed, whereas the rest of the interior partitioning was built up against the fire cap. This was different than the skilled nursing project, where the fire cap was made up against all the interior partitions, whether they were load-bearing or not. This is a very efficient and effective way of having an excellent fire cap. Looking down the east corridor of the new construction, we can see the location where it connects into the existing assisted living facility. Also notice up near the roof all of the electrical conduit that come out of the existing building and where we'll tie into the new building as the conduits drop down below the fire cap ceiling. The very next day, this is how it looked from our eye in the sky. As you can see now from the top down, the shingles are completed, and you'll notice at the very peak of the shingles, the vents have been applied
And at the lower edge of the shingles, at the top of the fascia board, there's a vent screen that allows cooling air to enter below the edge of the shingles and go all the way up to the top of the vents to keep the shingles cool. Here's a close-up view of the roof shingle vent screen that sits at the top of the fascia board. Normally you don't get to see this because it's pretty well hidden from street view by the water gutters that surround the building. You also see the fascia board and the soffit are completed. The hardy board siding is on. The windows are installed, flashed, and the brick wainscoting has been applied. In fact, everything is completed except for a good coat of paint or two. One of the nice features of the assisted living addition for the units is in the southwest corner, there's a lovely sunroom and sun porch. You'll notice it's still under construction. The door has not been placed yet to the exterior from the sunroom, and the railings are not in place for the porch. But when this is finished, it'll be a lovely feature. We're looking down the west wall of the assisted living addition, and you'll notice here where the new portion of the building ties in with the previous older portion. Also, you'll notice down at ground level, the fire sprinkler water supply enters the building for the whole health center at this point. And on the exterior of the building, there's a fire department hydrant that can be used should it be necessary. Earlier in our videos, you saw this little room that's inside the courtyard. We called it perhaps something that looks like a sentry booth, but its real function is to contain this Christmas tree, which is part of the fire sprinkler system for the entire health center. The water comes in on the left and goes through two shutoff valves, which has a series of strainers between them to make sure the water is clean that goes to the sprinkler heads. And then on the top of the upper shutoff valve is a electrical control valve that would be actuated by the fire sprinkler system. Right now this system is alive with 70 pounds per square inch gauge water pressure. While we're in the courtyard and as they're finishing up the brick trim around the sidewalk, I'd like to point out that each of these bricks is cut to fit, pre-placed, and then a brick either on top or underneath is sliced in half so that the actual space is filled up along with the mortar so that all the bricks are just flush with the concrete. In just another 5 weeks, the project for the assisted living units will be completed. The patio will be finished, all the bricks will be in place, be landscaped, and we should be completed with the painting, both exterior and interior, and we should be ready to move in about the first week of April.